Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well wherever you are, your corner of the world. This is a separate part of my YouTube channel that goes with helping people understand the law. There's a lot of people in Chicago, a lot of young minorities that don't really understand the rights that are given to them and how certain things affect them, especially if they're arrested and they're brought to trial or they're fighting something in court. So I'm going to spend some time, and I have a playlist breaking down different areas of the law and how they affect you, and why you should understand what they are. Now, in this video, we're going to go over Mapp versus Ohio. This is a case from 1961 that sets precedent with the exclusionary rule and unreasonable search and seizure. For those of you that don't know, you're protected by the Constitution, right? There's certain rights that were given to you. And after the Civil War, they had amendments that were put in place that really helped for African Americans after the Civil War. So there's what's called the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is an amendment to the United States Constitution that was adopted in 1868. It grants citizens equal rights, equal civil and legal rights, right? So to all black people, they are considered equal to others, right? Now, after the Civil War, Congress adopted a number of measures to protect individual rights from interference by the states. Among them was what's called the 14th Amendment. It prohibits the states from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So what happened was, this is actually a case that traces back to Don King. Who knows Don King? The dude that used to be responsible for all the fights of yesteryear with the crazy hair. In fact, his hair kind of looks like my beard. I bet you could flip us upside down and I kind of look like him. But anyway, his home was bombed, right? They were looking for a bombing suspect. So the police go and they went to a lady, we'll just call her Miss Mapp, right? She's the person arguing her case for Mapp versus Ohio. So basically, the police enter this residential property and they're looking for somebody, and they're looking to collect information about a specific criminal activity that happened. And she's like, nah, y'all can't come in. That's always what your answer is. No, you cannot come in. No, you cannot search my vehicle. No, right? You don't want to give them any reason to search you if it's not needed. And I'll go over why that's so important, because if you continue to say no, and they do find something and they illegally search your place, you can get that excluded from court. So anything that they find from that illegal search is not admissible in court. That's really important if you do have a gun, if you do have drugs in the car, right? If there is a crime, you're going to be arrested regardless. But don't let them, if they're like, we're going to find it anyway, we're going to get the dogs. Still like, no, I do not give you consent to search my car. They have to have probable cause or they have to have a warrant. What happened in this case, they go to this lady's house, they're looking to search her, looking for somebody to question him, and she says, no, you can't come in. You don't have a warrant. They leave, they come back, and she's like, you got your warrant? And he holds up a piece of paper, but he ain't got no warrant. And he basically forces his way into the property. They don't find the guy. I don't believe they found the person they were looking for, but they do see, they're looking for evidence of gambling as well. They don't find any of that, but when the police are in her house, they find some obscene material. I think it's some form of pornography. But under state law, the possession of these materials was legal, and Mapp was arrested. She was found guilty in court and sentenced to 1 to 7 years in the penitentiary. And now, under state law, well, her lawyer appealed to the state Supreme Court, right? To the highest court in that state. And they said, yo, her privacy was violated, right? That evidence was only found because they entered her home in an unconstitutional manner. The officers didn't have a search warrant, but still the court said they held up her conviction, and they allowed the evidence that was found illegally to be entered into the trial. See, this is where it's so important to have an attorney that understands your rights, right? Because you have to ask yourself, what are the questions here? Well, were the Fourth Amendment rights of Mapp's violated by the state of Ohio? And at the time, federal courts were prohibited from the use of illegally obtained evidence by the Fourth Amendment. They had something called the Exclusionary Rule. So if it's a federal crime and they don't have a search warrant, they can't use that evidence against you, regardless of what it is. But the states didn't have that protection. So basically, the question we need to think of is, should the states be allowed to use evidence in court if the method of obtaining the evidence violated constitutional rights? Well, the holding of the court, basically the decision that they made was, the appellant's constitutional rights, they were in fact violated. So the Supreme Court overturned the conviction, and they said the exclusionary rule does apply to state level issues as well. The 14th Amendment extends that protection to the states, and that's so important, right? So the Justice Clark, that was basically, they were doing what's called the majority. The majority basically states that admitting evidence unlawfully seized serves to encourage disobedience to the Constitution, which it's bound to uphold, right? Think about that. What good would rules be that prevent illegal search and seizure if they allowed evidence that was found during these illegal searches in court, right? So basically, this is so important because you have to remember that this applies if the initial search, the reason why you're pulled over, or that initial search is not constitutional, everything they find from that point forward is inadmissible. So that's why I say, when you get pulled over and they say, will you blow this, right, for a DUI? Or where can we check to see if you're intoxicated or if you got weed in your system? It's really important that you say no. And a lot of people are like, I'm gonna lose my license for 3 months. That's not the point. The point is that you're giving yourself a reason to be able to fight this in court. If you blow and you blow, you're gonna get a DUI, right? If they test you and you're found to have high levels of THC, you're gonna get in trouble anyway. But by you saying no, you give your lawyer the ability to fight the reason that you were actually pulled over and get everything else thrown out after that. Again, it's so important. It's called the exclusionary rule. So remember that. Even if you're riding dirty, you got a pistol in the car, you get pulled over, you know they're about to find that pistol. You're a felon, right? You're going to prison for 5 years minimum, right? They're going to find that pistol anyway. It's important that you tell them, no, I do not consent to a search of my vehicle. If you're just like, all right, bro, you're going to search it anyway, one can look at that as giving them consent, right? You have to be firm. No. Am I being detained? I have somewhere to be. No, you cannot search my vehicle. Because if they pulled you over for some BS and they can't prove it, if their cam was on and they try to say you didn't use your turn signal and you can prove that you did, then now we got a reason. Now we got the ability to fight this entire thing in court. Doesn't matter that you had a pistol on you. We can get it thrown out, right? So it's so important to understand your rules. And all of this came apart. This was what's called a landmark Supreme Court case. This case was decided 6-3 by the Warren Court, and it held that the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure applied to the states, and it excludes unconstitutionally obtained evidence from use in state criminal prosecution. That's so important to understand, guys, right? So they can't just pull you over for no reason and search your stuff. It's so important that you know your rights. If you got questions or you want me to dive deeper into one part of the law, I'm actually studying constitutional law, judicial politics now. Hit me up, leave a comment. Let me know if there's something that you're fighting. I'll do my best to try to break it down and give you my opinion as to the best way to fight this, or we'll go over some of the elements of your case.